So as I said, I've like sold the company and I've sort of listed out my reasons there. So which also was like a learning process for me, and I've got no regrets about setting up and working on that business either. At the start, it was like very interesting and not very interesting, but it was like there were a lot of like new things and a lot of like process automation that I got to work on. But as I said, I've like realized that I really like the sort of early stages of a startup, of like a business. So my main focus, which is also what I said last time, is building out these like passive income sorry, the other thing to mention as well, just before I go on to that, is what I sort of knew, I did know this already, but was a big reason for me like wanting to move on to something else as well, is there's like a sweet spot for acquiring customers with every like particular channel, obviously, right? And because we had grown that social media agency to be so large, there was such pressure on marketing to acquire these customers at such a fast rate, because our churn rate was high. It was about 20%, if in fact more than 20%. There was such pressure on marketing to keep bringing these customers in, or else people would lose their jobs. And what this meant was I basically had to pay a much higher like CPA just to be so aggressive on the campaign. But it's not an efficient way of acquiring the customers at all, because we could acquire, I don't know, sort of how many? You could we were paying about $150 CPA to acquire like 30 customers per day, let's say on average, maybe 25. Whereas you could acquire like 6 to 10 customers per day, and you could pay like a $25 or $30 cost per acquisition, which is much more interesting for me. Like the business would be so much more profitable, and it would also be like much easier to manage. So that is one lesson that I definitely learned just from trying to working on keeping people in their jobs and making sure that no one had to be fired. It cost the profitability of the business. So I definitely wouldn't do anything like that again. Like what I would do is, it's the only benefit of having like a big team is it sounds good if you say that you've got like 140 employees or whatever, but also it sounds much better than it is. In my opinion, it is a bit of a anticlimax, and I know that some people from the company actually will watch this video, so I don't mean to make anyone feel bad, but it's my opinion is that it's much better to have like a smaller team with everyone, like where you can have a much closer relationship with everyone there, and really focus on like profitability. So not just trying to like grow for the sake of it. You acquire as many customers as you can for as cheap as you can. So if I was to set up this business again, I could actually make the business more profitable following this method than the previous business in like a couple of months, and have a team of, for example, like 5 people. In fact, I could probably do it in the first month because of, anyway, and have like a much smaller team of like 3 or 4 people, and it's what I'm really interested in doing. So setting up like these sort of smaller startups where you're not working like full time on it. You set up these acquisition channels to acquire customers at a cheap and slightly slower rate, and you're doing this on purpose. But then you also have like a few other businesses simultaneously. For example, you could run like 10 startups like this, a mixture of them being like completely passive income, and a few of them that maybe need some staff. You have like a few employees. You could get a larger office and share the office to like minimize the expenses. You could also hire, for example, depending on the size of the business and the number of customer support requests, you could hire one customer support agent, or have like one 24/7 team that cover all of your startups. So this is something that I was sort of thinking of playing around with. And like, to be honest, I'm not taking a little break, but I'm not ready to launch any people-based startups now, like anything that needs employees. I'm just like, I'm taking a little bit of a break after, like, because I now feel I've got my freedom back.